Okay, so it seems like most of you are done both. So here, your best bet is to, like terms. There's this one and this one, and then this one and this one. If I was you, I would just take the 1/5 by itself and subtract the 1/2, because that's 1/5 minus 1/2. 10 is the lowest common denominator. So that gives you 2 minus 5. And you will get -3/10. So it will be -3/10 x squared. And then you take the -1/5 and you minus the 1/3, because they're like terms. So -1/5 minus 1/3. 15 is your lowest common denominator. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 3 times 1 is -3. And minus 5, you do common denominator, whichever way you're happy with. -18, -8/15. So -8/15x. And that's your answer for this one. Now this the second thing, make sure you start getting rid of your brackets. Okay, so it'll be -3x squared y plus 3xy. Now let me tell you something. When this is a plus sign, everything that comes after the plus sign is not going to change. So everything that comes after the plus sign is not going to change. So you might as well just write plus x plus y squared minus 3yx or xy, the same thing. But in here, this negative here is going to change this and this. So that becomes minus y squared plus 3xy squared. So far, so good. Nigar, don't worry about it. Just it's always think simple. Don't think complicated. Okay, so the plus here doesn't change anything on the inside. However, while we not changing anything, I'm also have a brackets here and I have a negative right in the front. Okay, good. So now let's highlight like terms. So these are these are not like terms. Almost got me. So these are like terms right here. And this also, these are like terms. Otherwise, we don't have anything that's like terms besides these two right here. So rewrite this as -3x squared y plus 3xy minus 3yx. They cancel because it's 3 minus 3, so they just cancel. Now plus x plus y squared minus y squared also will cancel because 1 minus 1 is 0. And then plus 3x y squared. These are not like terms because here the square is on the x and here is the square on the y. So far so good. So now we're gonna go to the.
Oh wait, I have a question. I wasn't paying attention for this part. I'm very sorry, but I think after there's an x, there's a plus x. Like you just put it down because there isn't any like other one to do it with. Like
Yeah. So that.
So you just put it down.
Just put it down because it's still part of the. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, most welcome. Great. Everybody is awake today, so that's good. Or at least I think so. This is called multiplying binomial by binomial. Binomial means 2 terms in the first brackets, 2 terms in the second bracket. So that's multiplying a binomial by a binomial. So here we have something we call FOIL. That's the term that is used for these kind of questions. FOIL, what it means you take the first term from here, you multiply it into here, and then secondly into there. You finish with that, then you go to the second term, which is right here, you multiply it into here, and you multiply it into there. So now x times x is x squared. And x times positive 2, just plus 2x. -1, that's not 1, that's -1. -1 times x is -x. -1 times 2 is -2. Now, these are like terms, so you have to add them. So you keep the x squared. 2x minus x will be plus 1x. So just plus x. You don't have to write 1, because if you don't write 1, it's 1 there. Minus 2. If we do this, it's the same thing. So we're doing this into here and then into there. And then the negative 3 into here and into there. So 2x times 5 is 10x. 2x times 3x is plus 6x squared. And then negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. And then negative 3 times positive 3 is minus 9x. These are like terms. So what I'm going to get, I'm going to write this first, just because of degree or degree order, or from going from highest degree to lowest degree. And then 10x minus 9x is just plus 1x. So we just write x. And then we have the minus 15. Now the third one is the same thing. So you take the 4x, multiply it into here, and then multiply it into there. And then the negative 1, you do the same thing here and there. So 4x times 4x is 16x squared plus 4x minus 4x minus 1. Collect like terms. Because these have the same opposite signs, they're just going to cancel each other out. So I have 16x squared minus 1. Any questions? If there are no questions and everybody is good, then you just do these two right here. So that's your work. Finish them, write me your answers, all of you, for number 1 and 2, and then we'll move on to something a little bit harder. Okay, so anybody who got x squared, let me just use a different color. X squared plus x minus 6, you did perfect. A shortcut to this is the x times the x is x squared. Whoa, wow. Hold on a second. I was copying somebody else's answer, and you guys got me in trouble. That should be supposed to be minus x. You want me to show you a shortcut? Here it is. X times x is x squared. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. So that's going to be negative 1x. And then negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. When it's like this, there's no numbers. In here, you could take that shortcut. But when there are numbers, you cannot take it. That's okay at all. But negative, so the intermediate step is, so if you want to take a shortcut, guys, when you don't have anything in front of the x here, not here, right? If you have just x here and x there, then you go x squared, negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. That will give you negative 1x, and then negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, and that's what you get there. If you want to go through the steps, x times x is x squared. X times positive 2 is plus 2x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Now these are like terms. So x squared positive 2 minus 3 is negative 1x, and then minus 6. Here, there's a shortcut to this as well, but I'm going to tell you later. So let's just FOIL it. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times positive 5, that's plus 10x. Negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. Negative 5 times positive 5 is negative 25. These will cancel because they are the opposite of one another. So your final answer is 4x minus 25. So 2x times 2x, you get 4x squared. And then 2x times 5 is plus 10x. And then negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. And then negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. After that, these are like terms. So 10x, okay. All right. So now let me talk to you about the shortcut. If we have 2x minus 7 and 2x plus 7. Can you tell me what you notice? What do you notice in these kind of questions? So this question, is there anything that you notice? Yes, exactly. So it's the same thing, except the middle right here are different signs. Always when that's the case, you could take a shortcut by going 2x times 2x, which gives you 4x squared, and negative 7 times 7, which gives you negative 49. Now, can anybody elaborate why I can take that shortcut? Why I'm able to take the shortcut here, but I cannot take the shortcut when I have x plus 3, x minus 5. There's no shortcut that I could do like this one here. I cannot just go this times this and then this times this. I cannot do that in this one. But here I can. Can you tell me why? Okay, be more specific, Marianne. Yeah, it will cancel. That's not good enough for me. Like both of you, Muhammad and Marianne, you said they'll cancel out. What cancels out? So exactly the middle, not the negative 7 and plus 7. No. You got to be more specific. I know where you're going, but you got to be more specific. So guys, exactly. So let's focus a little bit on this. Okay. So let's FOIL it the same way we did before. So we'll get 4x squared if we FOIL, and then plus 14x, and then minus 14x, and then minus 49. Always when you have something the same as something, but the sign in the middle is different. If it's the same, you cannot. If I make this plus, you cannot do that anymore. But if the signs are different, we call this the difference of squares. So you see here that positive 14 minus 14 will cancel out all the time. And that's why you end up with this answer right here, which you could take a shortcut by just when you have that kind of situation, just go this first times first and then last times last. And that's all you need to do. Clear? The shortcut that you could do with this though, you go x squared, 3 minus 5, 3 minus 5 is negative 2x. And 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. You could do that shortcut when there is no number in front of the x. It's 1. When it's 1, you could do that. So that's why here you could do this. Okay. Now, what I'm going to show you here, sorry, that's x squared right here. Has anybody heard the word factor? So you see, going from here to there, we call that expanding. But if we go from here to here, we call it factoring. So the property of distribution, that's what we use here, is opposite to factoring. So always know, when you factor something, you're trying to get back to the two brackets that you have FOILed to get that. Does that make sense? So when you factor an equation like this, what you're trying to do, you're trying to get back to here. So when you're factoring means you're trying to find the two binomials that when you expand and FOIL, you get this. That's what factoring is. And we're not really going to go into factoring, but I just want to make that point. It's a very important point. A lot of students factor, not understanding that factoring is the opposite of expanding or the property of distribution. Now let's take this here. I'm just going to introduce you to factoring trinomials. But we're not going to spend any time on this except this. Because some of you haven't done it before. And also, this is not our lesson. But it's good to make this analogy because it's so important that you should know that factoring is the opposite of distributing or expanding. So if we want to factor this, we call this a trinomial. We call it a trinomial because it has 3 terms. And it's written in the degree order, x squared, and then x to the 1, and then this is a constant. So to factor this, you open 2 sets of brackets. Okay. You put x in each one. But you got to figure out the numbers that you're going to write here, which are going to be these numbers, by the way. How do we figure them out? Okay. So pay attention now. We figured them out by trying to figure out what multiplies to give me negative 15 and adds to give me negative 2. So the 2 numbers that will multiply to give me negative 15 and add to give me negative 2. Negative 15 comes from here and negative 2 comes from there. So what 2 numbers, when I multiply them, I get negative 15, and when I add them, I get negative 2. Can you write me your answer, please? Just write the 2 numbers with the comma between them. 2 numbers multiply to give me negative 15 and add to give me negative 2. So you should be thinking first, what combination multiply to give me negative 15? And after that, when you look at the combinations, which is to say 1 and 15, you only have 2 options. You don't even have a third one. You have 1 and 15 or 5 and 3. So don't think about the 2 things at the same time. Always think what multiplies to give me 15. You don't even have to think negative 15. So it's either 1 times 15 or 3 times 5. Now, because they have to multiply to give me negative 15, one of these numbers have to be negative. But remember, when I add them, it's not 15 and 1 because the difference between them is not going to be 2, but it's the 5 and 3. Now you got to figure out, is it negative 3 plus 5 that's going to give me negative 2, or is it negative 5 plus 3 that's going to give me negative 2? It's this combination right here. So therefore, it's plus 3 and minus 5 in here. So it's x plus 5, x minus 5, and x plus 3. That's the combination that gives me them. And that's what that is, just written backwards. So this lesson is not about factoring, but it's very important to understand that factoring and expansion, or the property of distribution, is the opposite of one another. So when we start factoring later on, you know that this is basically what we're doing. We're just doing the opposite of what we learned earlier, which is expanding and all of that stuff. And there's more to factoring than just this, but since we're here, I thought I will just kind of make that analogy. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you one to do yourself. Of course, you know I do the easy ones and then I give you the hard ones. Try this. Okay, let me ask you a question. Is there anything special about this one? Can we take that shortcut that we did earlier? We can't take the shortcut. Good. So if we can, we only need to multiply this into here and multiply the negative 3 into there, because these are the same things with the sign that's in the middle is opposite. So 1/4 x times 1/4 x is 1/16. Yes, good, Jude, you caught yourself there. 1/16 x squared minus 9. No common denominator. We're multiplying fractions. We're multiplying fractions. If we cannot reduce, we just multiply top and multiply bottom. Now, let's do one more. Okay, go for it. Everybody needs to write the answer for this one. And it follows the same rule that I told you about when you can take a shortcut. Yeah, you just forgot the x there, Ibrahim, but that's fine. 1/4 x squared. I think that's it. Good. So remember this shortcut. It really helps you a great deal if you're writing tests and stuff. And when you see something like this, you say, you know what? Because if let's say if you're gonna FOIL this, the long way is gonna be 1/16 x squared, 1/4 x times 3. What's 1/4 times 3, guys? 1/4 times 3. Yeah. So whenever you're multiplying a fraction times a whole number, if you cannot reduce this way, you just multiply the whole number to the top of the fraction only. So you're gonna get plus 3/4 x. Marianne, at least you were brave to write the answer down. Nobody wanted to try to write anything down. And now -3 times 1/4 is -3/4 x. And then -3 times +3 is -9. This and this are the same, but with the opposite sign, they cancel. But when you took the shortcut, sorry, there's a square there. When you took the shortcut, you made it go a lot faster. Okay, so you guys did well. All of you listed the right answers here. So we're just gonna move on to the next thing. And the next thing is, say if we have 5, 4 minus x, and 3 plus x right here. So when you have this, there are different ways to do it. Okay. Now you have 3 things multiplied. It's like having, let's say, 2 times 5 times 7. So when you have 2 times 5 times 7, you could multiply in order like this. So 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times 7 is 70. You could also go 5 times 7 is 35 times 2 is 70. Or you could go 2 times 7 is 14 times 5 is 70. So you could do it so many ways, but you still get the same answer. When you have this kind of questions, some people, they like to distribute the 5 into here first, and then get that and then FOIL it into that. I would say don't do that. It's much easier to just keep the 5 hanging out right there and then start FOILing this. So 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times x is plus 4x. Negative x times 3 is negative 3x. Negative x times x is minus x squared. Now 5, 12, collect like terms here. 4x minus 3x is plus 1x minus x squared. After you do that, now you distribute the 5 into here, here, and there. So you have to distribute the 5 into all 3 of them. That's what the brackets is for. It's not just for the 12. So 5 times 12 is 60. 5 times positive x is just plus 5x. And 5 times negative x squared is just negative 5x squared. Okay. So where do you want me? Yeah.
Where'd you get the 5, the bracket 12 plus, and then there's like these 2 x's? Where'd you get those from? Like they just flipped from like a 4x negative 3x. I didn't get that.
Is it
went
how
too
did,
fast.
how did I get this and this or this?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, wait, never mind. You subtracted. My bad. My bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I see now.
4x minus
It's just
3.
yeah, 'cause
4x minus 3x. Yes.
I forgot you don't have to write down the 1 with the x.
Yeah, you don't have to write the 1. And I'm gonna give you one to do yourself. So of course I do the easy ones and I give you guys the hard ones. So here's 2 questions. Yeah, so now here's 2 questions. Please do them. Okay, so I'm gonna start doing these and then just check if you got the right answer. If you haven't, find out where you went wrong. If you still don't get it, then I'll jump in. Okay, so in the first one, keep the 5 out of it for now. Start foiling this. 4 times 5 is 20, and it's going to be x squared because x times x. 4x times 1 is plus 4x. Negative 3 times 5x and negative 3 times 1. Negative 3 times 5x is negative 15x. Negative 3 times 1 is minus 3. After that, keep the 5 outside of the brackets. Collect like terms to make your life easier here. So you have 20 x squared plus 4 minus 15 is negative 11x. And then we have the minus 3. Now you distribute the 5 into all of these terms. We have 3 terms here. We call these 3 terms because 1, 2, 3. What divides them is the sign, the negative or the plus. So 5 times 20 is 100 x squared. 5 times negative 11 is negative 55 x, and 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Okay, so anybody wants me to go over this again, or you got it? Doesn't matter if you got it wrong when you did it, but take your time in math. Take your time. Don't rush. And just remember there are steps, and which order should you do your steps? Even though there's another way of doing this, but I don't like it, so I'm not even going to show it to you. So far, so good. You don't want me to go over this? You knew what your mistake was? Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to ask you a question. When I write 6 squared, what do you get? Okay, so all of you are going to be saying 36. What does 6 squared mean? What does it mean, though, 6 squared? Yeah. Exactly. It means 6 times 6. Now, with that same analogy, this here, lots of students, when they see this, they say, oh, 5 squared is 25 minus x squared is x squared. So they do the squaring this or the squaring this, and that would be wrong. Don't do that. Why? Because when we have 6 squared, it means 6 times 6. The same thing here. 5 minus x squared means 5 minus x times 5 minus x. And therefore, we keep the 2 out. Now we FOIL. Can we take the shortcut here? Do you agree or no? Can we take the shortcut for this one or no? When they're the same like this, though, you could take a different shortcut. You go 5 times 5 is 25. Double the 5, it's 10, and it's going to be minus because of that negative sign. So it's going to be minus 10x. And then negative x times negative x is positive x squared. So square this, double this, and then square this. That's what it means. That's when they are the same. You could do that. But you know, the foiling is going to be 25 minus 5x minus 5x minus plus x squared when you start foiling it, and you're going to get this. Now the 2 has to be distributed in. So 2 times 25 is 50 minus 20x plus 2x squared. Anyone has a question about this before I move on to the next one? Yeah. So if I have x plus 7 or x minus 7 times squared, I could rewrite this as x minus 7 times x minus 7. And when that's the case, you could write x squared here. You just look at this and then double this, which gives me minus 14. Then you put an x there and then square this. Negative 7 squared will give me plus 49. That's the shortcut when you have the same thing multiplied by itself. When you have something multiplied by itself, you could take that kind of shortcut. Sorry, that's x squared there. I forgot to write the square. Does that make sense, Mohammed bin Hussein? So that's a shortcut you could do, but you know what? It doesn't hurt. Like if you just FOIL it, you go x squared minus 7x minus 7x plus 49 and get there slowly, that's fine. But eventually, you know, after doing it for so long, you say, oh, you could do it really fast and you could start doing it fast. The shortcuts with this, I don't really care about much. But if I write x minus 7 and x plus 7, I encourage you to do the shortcut, x squared minus 49, because you just multiply this into this and this into that, and that's it. Okay, now going back to this. Is that okay so far? Is that where you got stuck, Mohammed? So distributing the two after and getting the final answer is good? Yeah. Now here, there are no shortcuts. My pleasure, buddy. So here you just got to FOIL. Those negatives, are they deterrent? No, they're not. I could just, not a big deal. So negative 3m times negative 2n is positive 6mn. Negative 3m times negative 6m positive 18m squared. Negative 1n times negative 2n is positive 2n squared, because that's negative 1 times negative 2. And then negative n times negative 6m is going to be plus 6mn. So that these two here are like terms. So you know what? I'm going to write them as 18m squared plus 12mn. Just wait a second. Let me finish and then I'll go over it. Plus 2n squared. Yes, I guess that is Nigar.
Yeah, it is. Huh?
Hi.
For the last one, you multiply negative. Oh no. Negative n times negative 6. Shouldn't it be mn or nm instead of mn? Like, does the letter matter?
Okay, so you remember we
Like
said
MN
2 times 3. 2 times 3
is 6
times 4. What does that give you?
It's 24.
How about 2 times 4 times 3?
Hold on. Wait, 4 times 3. Okay, yeah, no, 8 times, yeah, 20 something.
24. So when we change the,
sorry, I panicked.
it's all good. When we change the order, we still get the same answer.
I'll get a multiplication, don't worry.
Yeah, so mn and nm is the same thing, because when we write 6mn, when we write 6mn Nigar, if you look at the relationship between these three things here, it's a multiplication relationship. We don't, of course, we don't write multiplication there. So that's why the order doesn't matter.
Okay, that's good.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So what I'm noticing today, because I'm slowing down a little bit and then I'm not going quite ahead and then giving you questions right at the end, you guys are catching up and doing much better than before. So I think that's the procedure we'll follow. If I forget and I start going fast, just tell me or remind me that, Sammy, you said you're going to give us a concept and then give us a question to practice and then move that way. And that's much more productive for you guys. Yeah. So a few more things that we're going to do here. So now this is a binomial and this is a trinomial. Binomial means it's 2 terms, trinomial is 3 terms. Is this harder? Is this any different from what we've done first? Anybody tells me like, is this harder? Does this involve something that's different from what we've done so far? Okay, it might look harder, Nigar, but honestly, you're doing the same thing with the property of distribution. Property of distribution says you take the first thing, distribute it into everything that's in the other brackets. So if we're doing that, x times x squared is going to be x cubed. X times negative 3x is going to be minus 3x squared. X times plus 4 is just plus 4x. Now we're going to come to the negative 2 and do the same thing. There. So negative 2 times x squared is minus 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 3 is plus 6x. And negative 2 times positive 4 is minus 8. Now, when we get here, we have to find like terms. This one and this one, and this one and this one. So we rewrite this as x cubed minus, is it minus? Yeah, negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5x squared plus 4x plus 6x is plus 10x. And then we have the minus 8 at the end. Makes sense? Just more numbers or more terms, not numbers. More terms, we call them terms. This is term 1, this is term 2, and this binomial, this is term 1, term 2, term 3, and the other one. So terms. Beautiful. So finish this, and then by the time you finish this, I think that will be the last bit of this chapter, or not this chapter, but the last bit of what we're doing today. And next time we'll move on to the other stuff. We're gonna get into factoring. So next time I'm just gonna give you a few more like this, and then we're gonna get into factoring. So today is about, today what we did is the opposite of factoring. Next time we're gonna do factoring. So this one here, we're gonna get multiplied in all of 3 there. So that's gonna give me 2x cubed minus x squared minus x. Now the one gotta get multiplied in all of this. When you're multiplying by positive 1, you might as well just write all of these without even having to FOIL. So plus 2x squared minus x minus 1. Because you're multiplying by 1, it's not gonna change any of these. So just gonna be plus 2x squared minus x minus 1. Yeah. Now you got 2x cubed. These are like terms. Negative 1 plus 2 is gonna give me plus 1x squared. Negative x minus x will give me negative 2x. And then we still have minus 1. So these two also are like terms. Any questions? So if you got it right, you're good. You're free to go. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for 3 more minutes. You could ask me personally. So some people didn't even say goodbye. They just right away, wing. You're most welcome. My pleasure, guys. See you next week. Yes. My pleasure.